The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
All right, we all set?
I believe so. Hello, everybody. I don't think you guys are going to be able to speak. Nope, you're all muted. So if the attendees in the webinar, can you guys, any one of you in the control area of the webinar, there's a question section. If you can send me a question, just say, yes, I can hear you. That would be phenomenal. All right, phenomenal. We're getting a lot of the yes to that. Cool. Charles, I think I can see your desktop again.
Let's try this.
Okay, awesome.
Better?
Cool.
Bear with us, guys. First time using this.
Yeah.
Figuring out all these buttons.
Yeah, sorry, guys. We did a little test run with this, and it seems like it's working great. So let me just clear out the questions here. And, okay, one more time. The attendees on the webinar, if you can see both of us on the video, yes or no? Sweet.
Man, these things are popping in quick.
Yeah, those are really quick. Thank you, everybody. Got that. Thank you. All right. Let me just get rid of those questions. Hang on. Okay, Charles, I'll give it to you, and then we can go from there.
Cool. All right, guys, welcome to the weekly. We're getting in a consistent routine of doing this weekly. I'm excited. Weekly FBA Rockstars Hangout. As you can see, we're using a little bit of a different platform because we have a guest speaker, Mr. Eddie here, and he's got tons of experience in the business, and I wanted to start bringing up different guest speakers who focus on different aspects. So Eddie he's got his niche nailed down, so that's what he is here for. Again, we're using a new system, so if you guys have any questions that you would like answered, Eddie's going to do a whole live Q&A session based on wholesale. So if you want to drop your questions in there, he can get to those. He's in charge of going through and deleting as he answers, I guess, if you want to do it that way. But aside from that, I am pretty much MIA from this topic, and I'm going to sit back and take notes just like all of you guys are. Hopefully you have a notepad or Evernote or on your computer or something like that. And my only housekeeping thing I want to tell you guys is I am heading on vacation. I am catching an early morning flight tomorrow down to Florida. I'm going to help one of my good buddies get started in his FBA business. You guys know I got a hold of Caesar as one of my wholesale guys. So I had Caesar send over a buttload of product down to him in Florida. I'm going to fly down, and we're just going to hammer out and teach him hands-on how to do this stuff. So I'm going to do that for 3 days, which is going to be Thursday, Friday, maybe Saturday. We'll see how much we have left. So my business hours are still going to be as usual. I'm still going to hop inside the group. I'm going to catch up on questions inside of my inbox, all that kind of stuff. But after Saturday, guys, you will not hear from me. I will not be in the group. I will not answer messages. I'm going to be MIA. I'm going to be completely off the face of the earth up until I fly back home on Wednesday, because that's my time with my family and my reset that I need for myself. I need to travel and reset my brain like every 3 months. It's just how I do it. And it sounds like, Eddie, it was you that mentioned the cruise, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So we're going to plan some type of...
I'm still very apt for that. If we can get that together, let's do it.
Nice. We're going to plan some type of FBA cruise, which would be freaking awesome. Except all of us are going to be going like this because we can't source. Yeah, stuff. Yeah, so aside from that, guys, I'm going on vacation. I will catch up when I can, but do not expect a reply from me until probably next Thursday or Friday. So with all of that being said, I'm going to turn it on over to Mr. Eddie, and he's going to take it over and share some tips with you guys. All you, brother.
Cool. Switch over presenter if you don't mind.
Where the heck is that button?
Top of the control panel should be a change presenter icon.
Yeah, I'm not even seeing that. That was on the test one we did, and it's not even on here now. Oh, you got it?
Yeah, hang on.
Okay. New buttons, we're not used to this.
All right. I think I am good now. Let's see.
Cool.
All right. Awesome. So, looks like we got 69 people on the call so far, which is phenomenal. We had over almost 120 registered attendees, so I'm sure people will hop on and hop off as they please. And by all means, if you need to do so, no hard feelings. You can definitely do that as well. So this is kind of just going to be completely open forum, no set agenda. I'm really here to take questions, give you advice, kind of talk a little bit about where I came from, and take it from there. So just want to remind everybody that on your GoToWebinar control panel thing, as a reminder, you have the question area. So if any questions come up during the call or you think of one, want to ask a question or something, definitely send it in that area. It'll come through the control area on my side, and I can answer each one as it comes in. Do me a favor though, if you have a question, no need to type the whole question really long in like on typing it on the computer, because what I'll do is I'll just unmute you so you can actually speak the question and everybody can hear it, and then I can answer you. It'll be a lot faster that way. So just, send a question. I have a question and I can see your name and I'll unmute you, and we can go from there. So a little bit about my background. I started this business in 2012, middle of 2012, when I was still a full-time employee at my last corporate job. Started it with doing just retail arbitrage, grew that to be quite extensive, built that into a multi-million-dollar business within the first 2 years. But my issue with that was that I quickly determined that, for me at least, I found it to be a bit less sustainable than doing wholesale. And what I mean by that is, when you look at the larger sellers on Amazon, or the ones that offer these variety of services or whatever they do the speaking events, they do conferences, whatever they do. I didn't find one that was a $5, $10, $15 million RA seller. I found a lot of wholesale people. I found a lot of private label people, but I didn't find I wasn't convinced that the RA business was scalable to the level that I wanted to get to. So that's the reason I transitioned over to the wholesale side. And in 2014 is when I pretty much, you could say, restarted the business, because I did. We completely changed our business model in 14. So we switched it from completely doing all RA to doing no RA, and then doing just all wholesale. So we've been doing that ever since. And within our tenure as a business, I would say, we've grown quite a bit. We've started in a garage, my garage, moved up to a storage facility, went up to a small office, 2,700 square feet, and now up to an 8,000 square foot warehouse. So that's already full, actually, as we speak. So I don't know how I'm going to last there for 3 years, but it's just part of the growing pains, I imagine. So that's a little bit enough about me. Just want to make a quick note for you guys that are all attending the conference. I did start a Facebook group. If you want to stay in touch with me, the title of the group is Amazon FBA with Eddie. You can search that on Facebook and just request access to the group, and I will approve you. Anyone can join. So if you want to go back and forth with that, more than happy to have you in the group, and it's going to be a great time. So Amazon FBA with Eddie is the group name, and we can have some fun in there as well. So without further ado, I will start taking questions. One thing I just want to note about the questions, there's a couple of questions that right off the bat I will tell you I will not answer. 3 of them I wrote down because I'm asked all the time. Who are your suppliers? I will not answer that question. Sorry. And then another one is, can you give me some general advice? No, not really, because this business is so robust that I need to be asked a specific question. So give me a specific question, I'll give you a specific answer. That would be best. And then the third one that I wrote down, how much profit did you make? I don't discuss that, only because we are a privately held business, and it's just not something that we publicize. So Those three I will not answer, but pretty much anything else is totally on the table. And if there is something that comes up, then I will tell you no. But anything else is pretty much on the table. So I will start with, let's see. Looks like I have a question from James Griffin. James, I have unmuted you. If you have a question, go ahead and ask.
Do we, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Can we wholesale or can we get some supplies and things from you? Can you be like my liquidator and stuff like that? Not liquidator, but get pallets and stuff from you to source my business?
Good question. Okay, so the answer to that question is no. Our business was built to specifically source for our company as a whole. So while we do liquidate like our returns and things like that, we're not really set up to operate on a business-to-business side for wholesale. Main reason for that is because the majority of the stuff that we would have in our warehouse inventory-wise that is good for sale on Amazon, we would just sell ourselves. So there wouldn't be much of a market to sell to another person. We don't bring in inventory that specifically we're looking to do B2B on and not ourselves. So the answer to that one is no.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. Okay, let me go back to the question area. Let's see. Bear with me a second. Okay, I have a question from a Steve Siegel, and give me a second, I'm going to unmute your line. Okay, Steve, if you can hear me? Steve?
Hey there.
Hey.
You know, I'd really curious about the backstory and how you got here. You kind of covered that after I wrote the question.
Awesome.
So that's awesome. But tell me about the 8,000 square foot warehouse. Why do you need so much space? And did not just send that stuff to Amazon?
Yeah, so good question. The 8,000 square foot warehouse is because our business model is built to be, we buy very, very narrow, but very deep. So what I mean by that is our total SKU count in terms of the number of individual items that we have, very, very small. Right now it's less than 50. So while it's very few SKUs, we're buying a lot of inventory to have the best hold on the market. We get better pricing that way. We get a lot more wiggle room with the supplier. We get a lot more control on just everything from A to Z. So I might be buying one product of the 50, but of that one product, I might have over 5,000 units. So because we don't, everybody gets charged for FBA space and it's quite expensive. The majority of our excess inventory is held there, and we replenish Amazon as need be.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Also, I love that picture of you in the warehouse. That's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Questions. Hang on. Okay, I have one from a Sean Cannon. Give me a second. I will unmute your line. Okay, Sean.
All right, I got
to go.
It's Sean Michael from.
Oh, hey, what's up?
So my question is I'm looking, like when you're like, I get the whole PL side of things, engaging like manufacturers and negotiating with them and pricing and all that other stuff.
Yep.
Is it like how is that from the wholesale side of things? And what starting like if I start with like $5,000, is that like a good entry point onto the wholesale side of stuff? So. Does that make sense? Like so I'm walking through a store and I see I don't know, Tyco having a product that that do I give Tyco a call and I say I want to get in, here's $5,000, $10,000. I mean, what's a good entry point to?
Are you
with wholesale?
So I hear kind of two questions. I hear what's a good entry point in terms of dollar value, and I hear how are you finding the people that you approach, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I guess. I mean, I imagine there's a bazillion wholesale. I mean, any company I would imagine will allow me to buy from them given a certain dollar amount. I'm assuming, right?
No.
Like if I just wanted to buy Duracell batteries, I could just go to call Duracell.
I'll answer that question with a kind of a statement. So any company is going to wholesale. That's for sure. Whether or not they wholesale to our type of people is a different story. That's just the wholesale / distribution side of the business is relevant anywhere. You have to have that. So, you know, whether it be they're wholesaling to a retail outlet, a major retailer or whatever, that's still wholesaling because, you know, the retailer's got to make their money. That's still wholesale. So it really depends on who they wholesale to, would be the answer to that question. In terms of finding the correct people or finding the names of suppliers to contact, I mean, I don't go to a store and look for names in that sense. I more focus on can I you know, I focus on whatever category you're in, or if there's not a specific category, then I just kind of start with one at least to get going. But then I would narrow it down by can you find, you know, trade shows that are relevant to your category? Can you find wholesalers that are related to your category? Can you do more work on the online / in-person side than going to a store, because a store can be very deceiving in terms of wholesale, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes total sense. So you're hitting up trade shows then, right, to build these relationships? A
lot. So I travel about 4 months out of the year. So I'm traveling to about 1 or 2 dozen shows, coupled with a bunch of seller conferences and a ton of other things every year. So I do a lot of that.
And then the other question I really had for you is, so what's a good starting capital then to like really, you know, like to really get going?
So I mean, money's great, right? Wholesale, having money on hand and having cash in the bank is phenomenal because, you know, a lot of this stuff can be very expensive. That being said, you know, I built this business into where it is today without any cash. I put $5,000 on a credit card and had no idea. I was still full-time in my other job at the time, but had absolutely no idea if it was going to work. And if it didn't work, I would be royally screwed because there was no way I was going to pay that. So I started with nothing. So what to go in with? I mean, I think the more important thing is what is your value and how well can you partner with someone, because wholesale is all about relationships. So you build a good relationship with somebody, they're going to work with you and they're going to grow with you. You want to grow with somebody, you want to be an extension of them. You don't want to be selling in place of them. You want to be selling with them. And I make that statement to vendors. I said I want to sell with you, not against you, not instead of you, just so they know you're on their team. So the more they understand that you're willing to really be their partner as opposed to just another reseller, the better off you're going to be, and they'll work with you on you know, growing to where you want to go. To answer your question?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, I mean, you know, I guess it answered. I guess I imagine every wholesaler is going to be different with like minimum order quantities and all that other stuff, because like private labeling, you can pick up stuff for like $1 and sell it for like 15, and I imagine wholesale is not like that at all.
No.
But you know, but then I mean, I imagine you probably don't have to go through the hurdles that I have to go through of like bringing a new product to market and getting eyes on there, because the company already built the name, you know. So
right. I mean, obviously, you know, one benefit of wholesale is you can go deep on a product and you can spend a lot with the one manufacturer and maybe get them to really like you because you're spending a lot of money. That's for sure a case, but it's not real. I wouldn't say it's the only way to do it. I mean, I build this business based on relationships. So it's really going to come down to working with individual vendors and seeing what their needs are. One vendor is not going to be the same as another. One vendor might be floored at $1,000 order. Another vendor might say we want 50,000 minimum. I mean, it really depends.
Got it.
Cool.
Yep, I'm good.
All right. Let me look at the next question area here. Okay. I'm going to unmute Louis Fung. Give me a second, and I'll find your name in here. Okay, Louis, you should be unmuted. Lewis? Nope. Okay. We'll come back to Lewis. I'll leave his question pending. Next question. Daniel Warren, you are unmuted.
Hey, man.
Hey.
I was just, said you had an 8,000 square foot warehouse, and I think I read it's just you and a partner that works there.
Yes.
Well, that's a lot of items to prep. Do y'all do all your prepping yourselves, or do y'all farm that out, or how y'all handle that?
Good question. So our prep, you're talking about in terms of Amazon prep, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. So our Amazon prep is for up until now has been done by Amazon. They do all of our labeling, all of our bagging, all of our whatever. Just because of the sheer volume of our products, we build it into our costs when we source products, and that's just part of our cost. I because of how much volume we move, I couldn't even fathom. There's no way I could do it with just the two of us, and I would need a full staff to be able to do that full time. So we have them do it. Recently, I've actually found a local guy who can actually cut my labeling costs in half, so I'm going to be switching that over to him. But to answer your question, none of that is done in-house.
All right, thanks.
Yep. Okay, 1 second. Okay. Next question is going to be from, actually, let me go in order here. Eddie Jack, did you have a question? Eddie Jack. Nope. Okay. Let's see. I apologize if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, but Melissa Hoy? Melissa? Melissa, if you're there? Okay, checking out. All right, I'm going to skip along. Let's see. JC Hernandez, are you there?
Did you say JC?
JC Hernandez, yes.
Hey, Eddie, how you doing, buddy?
Good, how are you?
I'm great. Yeah, I think a lot of these people are maybe a little apprehensive to talk, it seems like.
Hey, that's fine. I got a full queue, so
yeah, I'm sure you do. All right, but my two questions. One, what kind of return on investment or what kind of margins are you dealing with when it comes to wholesale? Do you have a specific number that you target, or how does that work?
Good question. So I don't have a specific number. I will tell you in general rule, what I've heard is 30% is a good number, because by the time you factor out all your costs and prep work and time and energy and all that stuff, that's a good safety net, because then if the price goes down a little bit, you have some cushion. So I've heard that as a general rule of thumb, but I don't specifically have one, because we have so many ways that we sell product. I sell Amazon FBA. I sell on other platforms. I sell direct to Amazon. I sell, we're looking at doing export direct and all this other stuff. So it really depends. I mean, there's some stuff that, because of the ease of selling through and just the pure nature of it, I mean, I'll take a lot less margin because I know there's less risk. So it depends. If you're talking about just FBA, though, I would say that 30% is a good barometer number.
Okay. And my other question is, obviously you've been doing this for a while now and you've been able to build some relationships. Mm-hmm. But how, for a new person,
yep.
Especially lately, how do you get around the whole, I won't sell to somebody who's just online if you don't have a brick and mortar business? I've come across that just once. I've been selling on eBay for about 4 years, mostly drop shipping, but I do have some things I ship from home.
Right.
And I have ran into that in the last couple of months.
Mm-hmm. So two things to note, really. Number one, I don't do business with anybody that doesn't want to do business with me. It's a two-way street, right? So if someone just tells me, I don't want to do business with you, I'm not going to pray, because I'm not going to beg and just try to convince them otherwise. They don't want to do business with you, they don't want to do business with you. It's end of story. You know, when I go to a trade show, there's anywhere from 500 to 3,000 exhibitors. I don't have time to go back and forth with somebody and say and beg them to deal with me. You know, it's just not worth it. So that's one. Two, the brick and mortar thing. You know, people will argue and they'll tell you, oh, well, if you have brick and mortar, you have an upside. Yeah, to an extent, but think about it this way. As a wholesale guy, you're buying maybe hundreds, if not thousands of a product at a time, depending on how big you are, right?
Right.
A brick and mortar guy, unless you're Walmart, you're not selling 500 units a week. It's not possible. Unless you got some massive store, it's not possible. So a smart vendor will know if a brick and mortar guy is playing them and just saying, oh, you know, we're brick and mortar, we're not online, but we're ordering, you know, this high volume quantity. It doesn't make sense. So a smart vendor will figure that out. And if you think your vendor doesn't think that way, you can do what I do, and I absolutely check them on that. And I say, when they tell me, oh, we only sell to brick and mortar, I flat out just tell them, do you realize your brick and mortars can sell online, and do you have brick and mortars who are ordering large quantities? Because I guarantee that's what they're doing. So you'd be surprised how many vendors look at me and go, oh, you know. So I get that. And when you kind of give a vendor something that they haven't thought about, or something that makes them kind of scratch their head, you gain instant credibility. And then to really answer your question, how do I get around it? I mean, I give them a value add. I give them something that they. I don't want to be just another reseller, right? Because there's so many of them. If you're just another Amazon guy, you're going to fall on your face, just plain and simple. So you gotta figure out what value you can bring to them that someone else is not doing. Are you an expert in listing optimization? Do you have a warehouse where you can buy in very deep quantities? Can you source directly from overseas from them? You know, things like that the typical guy is not going to do. You know, the typical Amazon guys are going to go up there and say, can I sell your product on Amazon? Or I want to sell it online. I'm an online seller. You might get some success, but, you know, as you guys probably realize, it's getting harder and harder to do that these days. So it's just not feasible. So you've got to really differentiate yourself. And this goes with anything. This goes a lot with relationship building and getting that up to par. I mean, when you can really separate yourself from the crowd and make yourself stand out, that's huge. And when you go to trade shows, I can tell you what I do. I mean, I don't go to trade shows blindly. I'll register for a trade show, and I'll be contacting vendors through the show, because the majority of trade shows have the vendors list available on the website. I'll contact them and start the dialogue before the show, and I'll tell them, hey, I'm coming to the show. I'm interested in your products. Can we meet? Because what happens is when you start that dialogue and you go back and forth, and sure, you might get shot down by a few, but a lot of them will talk to you. But when you then have started that dialogue and then you go to the booth at the trade show, 9 times out of 10, if someone else is with them, or even if not, if they see your badge, they're dropping everything and they're working with you, even if there was somebody else. They already talk to you. So it's just credibility. You know, you're showing them interest. So things like that is what I would say is what I would gear you towards.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Cool. All right. Okay. Let's see. That guy left. Okay, Mark Giacomo, you are unmuted.
Hey, how you doing? Basically, I think you answered the question. It was when you say you're a wholesaler, does that mean you're buying wholesale and reselling it at retail?
So I'm buying a product, yeah, at a discount from a manufacturer or a distributor, or whatever the case may be.
Like direct, yeah.
Direct, yeah. Well, a manufacturer would be direct. Distributor would be not really direct because you're buying through a distributor. But yeah, I'm buying it for a discount and then selling it to on the retail side. So you're buying it B2B, business to business, and selling B2C, business to consumer. Yeah.
Okay, I mean, it was just a lot of people, including myself, I guess, are a little bit confused as to what a wholesaler really does. But so I guess you just really cleared that up for from me, probably.
Yeah,
Probably no one else.
Yeah, it's exactly what I'm doing. You're essentially becoming the reseller.
Okay.
So
yeah, you totally.
So people ask, why does a manufacturer, why do they wholesale? Well, the answer is, if a manufacturer was to cut out all the supply chain and go direct to consumer, is the margin greater? Yeah, but think about it. From a consumer perspective, they're buying one unit at a time. It would take a lot longer to sell that many products versus distributing it out and trying to move more inventory that way. So there's just levels in supply chain. I mean, take a Best Buy, for example, right? But you can consider Best Buy wholesaling and reselling products from a manufacturer. That's what they're doing. You've got Apple, right? They sell Apple products. So Apple sells them a product at a discount. They buy it, and then they sell it to you at retail price, and they make their margin based on the difference. It's the same thing.
So if I could just ask you, so say you go to a trade show, you run into a product that, it might not be a popular product yet. Maybe it's a small type of situation. That's pretty much how you're sourcing the item, and then you're taking it from, say, them, and then bringing it to retail?
That's one way you can do things. I don't do it that way. I look for products that are in demand that have a good track record because of my business model. I buy in such volume that I can't afford to sit on products that just are not well known yet. I can't do that. So what I'm doing is I'm like when I talked about earlier, when I go and I research a trade show and I look into who's exhibiting and I start profiling the vendors. I'm looking up their name, their products. I'm getting a good sense of who they are before I even actually contact them to make a determination. Do I actually want to work with you? And if I see that the products are viable, the pricing looks good, or the rank looks good, then I'm initiating contact with them and saying, hey, I'm so-and-so from so-and-so. Here's what I do. I have an interest in your products. Can we talk?
Okay, great.
Yep.
Well, thank you very much, man. I'm really having a good time listening to everything you're talking about, man.
Good deal. Anytime. Okay, so let's go to Sandy Karoff? Sandy, are you there? Nope.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, I can hear you. Okay, there we go.
I had to unmute you for some reason.
It's all right.
Anyway, I just wanted to ask, if you had to do everything over again, would you have started with RA and OA, or knowing what you know now, would you start at a further along point somehow?
Well, no, and your question kind of really drives home my answer. Knowing what I know now, I would do wholesale, because I think that it was very difficult for me to go from giving up a business that I had put 2 years of blood, sweat, and tears into to completely starting over. So it was very difficult. So knowing what I know now, I would start with wholesale because I think that has the biggest potential. However, most people start this and they don't have much experience, a whole lot of capital, and definitely not a huge warehouse to put stuff in. So that might not be possible for everybody. They want to learn the system. So what I would advise you is you can totally start with RA, OA, whatever you want. But the biggest piece of advice is I would say research and see and to make a determination of where you want to grow this business to. The one thing I made a mistake of is I just kind of went all in. And I didn't ask myself that question. So then when I made the determination two years later that it wasn't sustainable, I was kind of quite deep in already, and it was difficult to reverse course.
Right.
Does that answer your question?
Yep, it does, definitely. Thanks so much.
Okay, thank you. Let's see. Don Davis, are you there? Don Davis. Okay, we're going to mute him and we'll be back to him. Let's see. Let me find your name here. Sarah Morrison. Sarah? Sarah Morrison? Nope. Okay. By the way, anyone who I'm calling the names and they're not replying, I'm not deleting your question. I'll come back to you. Let's see. Let's go with Rosita Bakken.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Barely.
Okay. Better?
No, not really. Are you through a phone or a computer?
Computer.
Computer?
Hang on a sec. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you kind of answered my question.
Yeah.
That I had, like, about the transition, how hard it was.
Okay.
But I guess presently where you're at now, how fast your business is growing, do you think you're going to have to upscale from where you're at now to a bigger facility?
Yeah, so our facility, we moved in there July of 2015, so almost a year ago now. We signed a 7-year lease, which is, if you know anything about commercial leases, you'll know that most landlords look for a minimum of 3 to 5 years. And the reason we signed a 7-year lease is because our landlord wanted a longer-term lease because it did something in terms of his benefit for being able to, I think, refinance the property or do something else. But what he did is he gave us a 3-year out option. So what happens, what that means is even though we signed a 7-year lease, it's my option after the 3rd year, I can leave and that contract becomes voided. If I do not leave after year 3, then I'm locked in for the remaining 4 years. So in essence, you could say, well, I signed a 3-year lease and I have a 4-year option. It's, you know, it's kind of the same thing. So do I feel that we'll probably have to grow? Yeah. Right now, our warehouse is so full that I'm kind of hoping I make it 3 years. But I don't know. You know, I take that one step at a time. You know, if you have to leave early, there's always the option of subleasing a space and doing that. That's kind of tricky though. But do I anticipate that we'll be growing? Yeah. And I would say probably my next move is to probably buy a building instead of leasing it because we're getting to a size standpoint now that would be more feasible in terms of costs.
Well, congratulations. Thanks.
Okay, so let's go to Teddy Boatner.
Hey, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Great. So you answered a lot of the questions that I had already.
Yeah.
So I guess the one thing I would say now, or the one question that I would have now is, when you actually do meet with your suppliers, how do you actually start that initial conversation out with them?
Okay. For those of you who didn't hear, I'm not sure how well that's coming through because it's a little bit soft, but Teddy's question was, when I meet with suppliers, how do I start off that conversation? Again, you know, I learned very quickly after attending trade shows, the first few, that going to a supplier blindly, and what I mean by that is not having any communication with them before you actually walk into their booth or their trade show, was very difficult because a trade show has so many people, and they're in their mind they've already they've talked to so many people probably ahead of time that if you walk in there blindly, you're kind of at a disadvantage because they've already got so much on their mind. So going back to what I said originally, I researched who the attendees are of a trade show ahead of time, and I researched, you know, their products, the line, see if I can find any information about them online, look them up on Amazon, whatever the case may be, and then I narrow that down to who I want to meet with at the show, and I will then start the communication before the show, and I'll say, you know, I'll introduce them with who I am, a little bit about my company or my background, and I'll just, you know, I'll tell them what I'm looking to do and what value-added services I bring to the table, can we meet at the show to go into more detail? You know, I don't send them a whole long email. I just like, you know, 3-4 sentences, just enough to gauge their interest, really. Then when you actually get to the show, you can talk about specifics and fill in the gaps and what have you. But you know, like I said, doing that ahead of time is quite beneficial, because you'll weed out a lot of the people who will just turn you down to the show anyway, who may have to turn you down at the show anyway, so it'll be a lot less annoying to you when you're actually there. And the people you actually do meet, you'll know that there's some mutual interest, at least, if they're willing to meet with you. So it's a time saver, really. Think about it this way: at a trade show, most trade shows, some are 2 days, some are 4 or 5 days, but even if they're 4 or 5 days, a trade show goes like 8 hours a day. If you meet with people for, let's just say, 30 minutes, which is, you'll be surprised how fast 30 minutes go when you start a conversation. You're talking about 16 people a day. At a trade show that has just 1,000 people, for example, your time is very, very valuable. So, you know, if you don't profile ahead of time and you go to the trade show and you are getting turned down time and time again for whatever reason, understand how much time you're wasting. So the reason I chose to correct that, and the reason I profile ahead of time, is to avoid that. So when I'm at a trade show, you know, I don't hit everybody that I want to, because it's time-wise impossible. But the people I do hit, I make sure that it's time well spent. Put it that way.
Gotcha.
Cool.
Yep.
All right. Let's see. Okay, I have an attendee here. The name is Obi-Wan Kenobi. So go ahead.
Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you.
Hey, Eddie, appreciate you, man. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask, being that you started with RA,
yep,
how would you advise to scale up into wholesale for someone that wants to do it? You know, I mean, what would be your first steps? You know, your first 3 steps to do if you want to just scale up from RA into wholesale.
It's difficult to answer that question, honestly, because RA is so different than wholesale. RA, whatever products you find on the shelf, normally, unless it's restricted or, you know, it's for whatever reason, if you're not ungated on Amazon, you know, whatever you find, pretty much you can sell. Wholesale, even if you find products that you technically can sell on Amazon per their guidelines, you might not be able to ever source that product because the manufacturer doesn't want to deal with you. So it's really apples and oranges when you think about it. But if you want to go from RA and you want to go to wholesale, like I did, you've got to really understand. I'm going to keep driving this home. You've got to understand that you have a value position to try to sell to somebody. RA, you're your own customer, I would say. But with wholesale, you're the customer of a supplier that has the choice to do or not do business with you. So you've got to keep that in the back of your head. So you've got to put your sales hat on, really, and sell yourself. You know, like, and I say that kind of reserved because, like I said in the beginning, I don't go on and try to have someone. I don't beg for someone to do business with them. So if they don't want to do business, I just drop it. You know, I don't chase them unless I really have a reason to. But I look for the guys who are going to want to do business with me and that I can build a relationship with and that can last a long time. So, you know, and I guess that's the other difference with RA too. RA, if you source product and you sell it, you might never find it again. The idea with wholesale is you get a product that you can continuously buy over and over and over again. And that just means long-term growth potential and more sustainability, more predictability, I would say, in terms of forecasting and growth potential and things like that. RA, you know, if I did, let's say you have an RA business and you did 500,000 one year and you go to your do a business plan, for example, and you have to project how much you're going to do the next year. I mean, sure, you can estimate growth, but how can you convince me that RA model is going to be there and the stores that you supply from aren't going to cut you off because they don't believe in resellers and all that product that you source is going to be the same thing next year? Sure, you can't do that for wholesale either, but wholesale you have relationships. Wholesale you have a little bit more sustainability and credibility and all that stuff. So it's a bit different.
Wow, thanks.
Cool.
And I really do appreciate that. But also, I just have one more quick question.
Yep.
Do you pick do you have like a niche that you focus on? You know, everybody has different things that they do, and do you just pick one and go for that and just be master in that, or yeah?
Are you talking category wise?
Yeah, category wise.
Yeah, no, I don't have a category that I specialize in that I'll look at anything really. Actually, I shouldn't say that. No. The categories that I won't do anything in, much in, I should say, is HBA. I don't like that category. I think there's a lot of issues with that category. And I also don't do clothing. Not that I see anything wrong with that. I just have never got into it. I'm trying to think what else. Jewelry. I don't do jewelry. That's just a whole process, and I don't even have the want to do that. But anything else is pretty open. I would say our core categories are toys, games, electronics, housewares, lawn and garden, baby. I'm trying to think what else. Kitchen. We do very well in those categories.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Eddie, man. I probably have to have so many other questions, but I'll let everybody else chime in.
Yeah, no,
for sure.
No worries. And guys, I just want to remind everybody, if you have a question, just send a quick note on the question area of your panel. Just say, hey, I have a question, and I'll get to your name as I go down the list. And if you have additional questions that pop up, send it again. That's fine. Let's see. I'm going to go back to Louis Fung. I think that you got your mic fixed. You are unmuted. Can you hear me? Louis? Nope. Okay, we'll come back to Louis. Okay, I have a question from Bill Thompson, but his mic is not working, he says. So his question is, what is some of the stuff you would say, what's some of the stuff you would say and ask a new supplier to build a better relationship with? Really depends on the supplier, and it depends on what information that I've been able to get already by researching their brand. Some of the things I look for when I look up a brand before I go to a show, I'm looking kind of what the pricing is. You know, a lot of times you can tell if a listing has map price because everyone's at the same price. So I'll make a note of that and I'll say, okay, these guys look like they're mapped. So I'll ask them about their policy. I actually ask about map regardless, but if I see that everybody's in line, that usually gives me a good segue into that, because I can say, hey, it looks like your products have a map, and it looks like everybody's following them. I just want to know your strategy for that. You know, is it working well, etc. And actually doing that, something like that, builds your credibility as well, because it shows the vendor that you've already done the research in their product. You know, kind of that they, you know, their brand value, and they're working hard to protect their brand. So things like that I look for. You know, when I ask the map question, and if their pricing is all over the place and they tell me, oh, I do have map pricing, then I fire back at them and I'll just say, look, you have map pricing, but your pricing is all over the place. I've already seen it. So I ask them to give me that answer of why that is. Other things I can ask them for are payment terms. You know, do you guys do net terms, net 30, net 60, net 90? You know, if not, do you guys do credit card? Do you only do wire transfer? What's the situation there? I'll ask them where they're shipping from, because a lot of times I can combine one vendor with a second vendor who's in the same area and save on shipping. So I like to know where they're shipping from. What else? I ask them about their closeouts, because a lot of wholesale vendors, even though you're buying current stock products, will have a separate closeout list that they, for whatever reason, a lot of times they don't think of sending you, and that list is great. So I asked them, hey, do you have a closeout list? Do you have an opportunity buy list? That's another term that a lot of people go by. Some people don't say closeout, they say opportunity buys. Same thing. It's essentially a product that they are not, that they're trying to move out. So it's stuff that you'll probably want to be on that list for. And then I ask them kind of what other shows they attend. You know, if I met them at one show, maybe they attend other ones. So I ask them and I find out, because maybe one show that they attend I've never heard of. So that just opened up a whole new window of opportunity. So there's a variety of questions you can ask to a vendor. Okay, that was Bill Thompson. Let's see. Let's see. Christy Crenshaw, can you hear me?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Great. Thank you for taking my question. I actually have a gazillion, but I'm going to start with the ones that are most important.
Yes.
You mentioned earlier that you sell direct to Amazon.
Yes.
Can you give us some more information about that? What is that about?
Yeah, yes and no, kind of. So, selling to Amazon is and becoming a vendor of theirs. You know, it's not very hard. It's not very easy, I should say. The way I did it, honestly, is I was at a trade show a few years back, and I had been walking through the rows, and I found it was 3 or 4 of them buyers from Amazon. You know, I look at people's tags all the time. I want to know who they are, if they're from a big retailer. I just kind of, I have a natural curiosity for that. And you'd be surprised, by the way, how many sellers, just by their store name, I've seen in their badges, and I say to myself, oh, you're that guy. Yeah, all the time. So I found like 3 or 4 of their guys, and I have this theory that when you ask questions and you're trying to expand, right now you're asking the question because you're not at a point where you want to be. So if they shoot you down, you're going to be in the exact same place where you started. So you might as well try with anything, right? So I found the buyers, and I flat out just said I knew there was opportunity to do business with Amazon, and I said, hey, you guys have a few minutes. I'll buy you lunch. I just want to ask some questions about Amazon specifically. I'm a seller. Would love to pick your brain. To my complete surprise, they were totally on board with it. So for me, those guys helped me quite a bit to understand the process, to get set up, and that sense in terms of, setting that whole process up. Amazon is very picky in terms of vendors. They have very strict requirements. It's a whole different ballgame. So specifics I can't really tell you because that's kind of the process that I took, which is not normal. But I will tell you that having them in my back pocket as another outlet has been great, because on some products that are not feasible for FBA, I've done very, very, very well by selling to Amazon Direct. So I'm just happy that I have that, I guess. Sorry if it didn't answer your question, but that's how I did it.
Yeah, I didn't even know anything like that was possible. They're so big, it just seems like they would just go out and be a bit, just get it themselves.
Yeah.
So I didn't.
It's a common misconception because Amazon is so big that a lot of vendors will rip them off, for lack of a better term, because they're Amazon, right? So Amazon, they do not get the best pricing. That's for sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you present yourself as a retailer or a wholesaler when you go to these trade shows and talk to the vendors?
I'm a retailer.
Okay.
Because what they're asking is what you do with the product, so I retail the products. If you're a wholesaler at a trade show, that tells them that you are reselling the product to another reseller.
Okay, that's what I thought. I just wanted to make sure I was clear from something you said earlier.
Yeah, you're a retailer at the show, but you run a wholesale business, if that makes sense.
And is it required that you have a retail license usually to get in or talk to people at these shows?
So having a resale license is definitely a good idea because it doesn't, number one, doesn't cost you anything, and number two, it takes like no time at all. Some shows will require it, some shows will not. So I would say definitely get one, because even the shows that don't require it, a lot of the vendors will require it just to get set up. So I would say get one.
Gotcha. How do you find your trade shows? I've Googled and I don't see a lot, especially in the areas that I'd be most interested in, and maybe I'm being too vague.
Yeah, no. So you could pick a category and search, X category trade shows, or you could go to convention center, look up the biggest convention centers and find their calendar. They all have it publicly listed. You go to, Las Vegas Convention Center, for example, and pull up the whole year's worth of shows, and that's like convention center headquarters. I'm in Vegas like 8 times a year, so that's one way that, doing it there. You could also buy some books on wholesale shows. There's annual ones that come out. They get updated with the new dates and the contacts and the registration website and all that stuff. So you can find them either way.
Awesome.
Cool.
One more question, if you can take it. When you said to tell the vendors that you could source from them overseas, what would prevent us from being able to source from them overseas?
Nothing really in terms of from a vendor standpoint. It's really going to be what prevents you from a business standpoint. If you're sourcing from overseas, I should clarify what I mean by that. So look at a site like Alibaba, right? When you're sourcing from Alibaba, you're sourcing I should say, be sourcing for private label. Because if you're buying branded goods from Alibaba, I promise you they're fake. So bad news there. So when I say I'm sourcing from China, I'm talking about I'm still buying from the manufacturer in the States, but I'm buying in such a high volume that I'm filling a full container, a truckload of whatever inventory I'm buying, and then it's being shipped to me directly from their China factory. So instead of going from their factory in China to their warehouse in the States and then coming to me, I'm taking their U.S. location out of the picture. I'm saving them their headache from receiving it, the cost of bringing it in, and I'm ordering directly from their factory, but I have to order in such a large volume. So the tricky part for an average seller is going to be the storage space and also the capital, because depending on the product, you could have a container that contains 250,000, if not higher amount of inventory. If you're buying, for example, drones, those could be a couple $100 a piece. So it depends. So it's really a logistics and a cash flow standpoint that's going to stop you from there as a seller.
Okay, awesome.
Cool.
And thank you for taking our questions.
Yep, no worries. Okay, so let me look at the queue here. I see a couple people have second questions, and if you don't mind hanging on for me, I would appreciate it. I'm going to just get to the people who I have not gotten to at all. Let's go to Pam Hill. If you can hear me, you are unmuted. Pam? Pam Hill. Nope. Okay. We'll go back to Pam. Let's see who else. Let's see. I've got a Terry Finnegan. Terry Finnegan. Nope. Okay. Here's a good question. Samuel Sorber, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Awesome. Sweet. Okay. Yes, I can hear you. And you have a question regarding insurance. Shoot.
Yeah, back to when you were doing RA, when did you set up the general insurance policy per Amazon's guidelines, and how did you go about doing that?
When did I set it up? When someone told me that it was required, honestly, because I had no idea.
Right.
For those of you who don't know, yeah, Amazon requires you have an insurance policy for the most part. There's some exceptions, but if you're a professional seller, and I think there's like a sales threshold, but it's pretty low for the year, you're supposed to have an insurance policy. They've never asked me for proof of insurance, but that's definitely one thing I wouldn't want to screw with. So two things. I actually have 3 different insurance policies for my business. One is general liability, which is what Amazon wants. One is content coverage for, protecting the goods in my warehouse if the warehouse were to have a fire or a flood or whatever, natural disaster, whatever the case may be. And then third, we have a business vehicle, so I have a business auto policy. So those are the three that I have. How did I set it up? Most insurance companies that offer one of the three will offer three of the three. If they don't offer one, it might be auto insurance if you're just talking to a straight up business insurance company. But getting a general liability policy and a content coverage as well added are usually can be bundled together. I really just approached a bunch of insurance companies and explained a little bit about my business, and they kind of took it to underwriting and they classified me by whatever they do. You've got to remember this business is relatively new in terms of the average general public knowledge. So when you go to a lot of insurance companies and they ask you, what do you do? And you try to explain it to them, they might look at you like, give you the deer in the headlights look. Like, what is that? So you kind of have to dumb it down and make sure that their underwriters really understand what your business is and what you're doing, because that can really make or break it when you have a claim. I know off the top of my head, two insurance companies that will take up this kind of policy. One is Farmers. I have that one, so I know they will. The other one I know is Allstate. They will write this kind of business under a policy. So those are two options for you there.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right. Moving on down the line. Let's see. Juan Araya? Juan?
Oh, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I just have a question about the managing all the products in your warehouse. Are you using any type of proprietary software for the warehouse management of your products, or like a third-party vendor software?
We're looking into getting a new inventory management solution. We don't have anything proprietary, I would say. But again, because our model is so narrow in terms of the different SKUs, even to manually manage it is pretty easy, because you're talking about 50 SKUs. So it's really not too difficult, and finding it in the warehouse is pretty easy, because with that few amount of SKUs, you know what a case of X looks like, and you know what a case of Y looks like. So I mean, that can pull pretty easily. I can tell you the ones that we're looking at, just if you want some names. Inventory Lab, SKU Vault, and Skubana are the three that I was looking at. They all have their pros and cons. Some are way more expensive than the other, but they all really offer different solutions. So those are the three that I've been kind of toying with for the last couple weeks.
Awesome. And then another question on damaged products. So if you receive something damaged, do you already work that those types of situations out with the people that you're working with, the different distributors that you're buying from?
You mean if I receive a purchase damage?
Yeah. So if you're receiving product and then in the manifest of 50 items, and let's say 10 of them are completely damaged and just not salvageable, what's like do you already have that worked out in the contract with the folks that you're buying from?
No, the contract usually doesn't cover that, because it's no one's really going to put that in the contract, because a lot of times it's going to be damaged by shipping or what have you. The good news about buying wholesale, when you're buying by the skid load, it's not like UPS. Boxes don't get tossed around, stepped on, stacked to the 10th degree. They're on skids. They're moved by forklifts. So you're going to see a lot less damage, I would say, unless you're moving like breakable type stuff, glassware. I would tell you that in all the shipments that I received, I really haven't dealt with this issue. If anything, I've dealt with like a shortage or the wrong product or something like that is actually more common. But if it's damaged, the process that you do is, unlike when you receive UPS packages and you just sign for it and then you can file a claim, when you receive an LTL shipment or a truckload shipment, you have to notate the damage, or if it's missing shrink wrap or whatever, on the paperwork that you sign. So I sign it and I say receive damage or shrink wrap missing or something, because that tells the carrier that there was something wrong with the shipment. So that's just for their files. But then if it's damage, I go just to the manufacturer or the vendor, whoever it is, and I tell them, hey, received X order, X is damaged, I have X quantity of this that's not sellable, what do you want to do? And usually they either send you a new one or they'll file a claim with the carrier on your behalf, or what have you. I've never had a problem in terms of a vendor fixing that issue for me, though. Not an issue.
Cool. That's it. Thanks.
All right. Let's see. Okay, I think. Oh, there's a new question. Jamie, I apologize. I can't pronounce her last name. Nakashima. Jamie. Jamie Nakashima. Okay, we'll come back to her. Let's see. Don Davis just sent a message saying can't find the Facebook group, my Facebook group. Don't know if you found it. Amazon FBA with Eddie, E-D-D-I-E. Don, can you still not find that? Don, can you hear me? Okay. Yeah, it's Amazon FBA with Eddie is the group name. If anyone can't find that, send me a question and I'll clarify, but it should be searchable. Let's try one more time for Louis Fung. Louis, are you on the line? Louis? Okay. Resend your question if you have it. I could not get you on the mic. Let's see. A lot of people saying I've answered their questions, so I'm deleting the ones that they've said are answered. Real quick, so okay, a couple of people are telling me they can't find the Facebook page. If you cannot find the Facebook page, private message me, and I will send you the link. How about we do that? Yeah, let's do that. And thank you, Charlie has put it in the notes that he'll put it as a link as well. Yeah, but if you want the link, send me a private message and I will get it to you. Okay. Let's see. I'm going to go back to Sean Cannon. Sean.
Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you.
Oh, criteria, like, you know, what's a general criteria in terms of, are you looking for things that are already selling on Amazon, competition? I mean, I imagine you're probably, you know, sharing the listing. So what are some things that you just won't, like, what wouldn't you touch, I guess is the right way to say it.
Yeah, I'm looking for stuff that is selling well already, that has a low ranking. And quick note about ranking. So a lot of you probably are familiar with the rank charts that come around in the groups a lot, and they're showing you, oh, top 1% of X category and top 10% of X category or whatever. You put it this way. A lot of those charts are very, very, very wrong in terms of wholesale if you're buying a large quantity. Take toys, for example. If I'm buying a large quantity in toys, a lot of you probably think I'm crazy, especially if you have done RA. I don't like going above 5K. Like pretty serious. Just because I have to sell through a lot of inventory over a short period of time. So if I'm going much higher than that, yeah, I can make margin, but how long is it going to take me to sell? You know, if I've got 1,000 pieces, it could take me 2 years to get rid of them. You know, that's the problem. Yeah. So I wish someone would, maybe I should do it. Someone needs to come out with a wholesale type ranking chart because, you know, toys, for example, I like to be under 5K. Health and beauty, like probably under 2 or 3K. Kitchen, like under 10K. Yeah, it depends, but that's kind of what I look for. But yeah, I mean, all my stuff is I don't look for stuff that's really brand new. I shouldn't say that. I will if I have a play to work with the manufacturer in terms of you know, can I get exclusivity, or can I work with them to bring it to market? That's something that gives me some vested interest in taking on that extra step. But for the most part, I'm looking for stuff that sells well, and having competition, that doesn't concern me the least, because I build my relationship based on my value and my buying power. So having a lot of people on the listing doesn't concern me at all. Any other questions, Sean?
No, that was good.
Cool. All right. I'm going to go back to, let's see. James Griffin had another one.
Hey, thanks. I went ahead and I posted a link to your group in the FBA Rockstars page. Is that okay?
Awesome. Totally. Thank you.
Okay. Second question, really quick. You mentioned you don't do any of your labeling and things like that. You send everything to Amazon to do labeling.
Yes.
Now, are you just talking about the stuff you just put in your when you put on there to sell, you just send it to them and they label, you just pay their fee and everything? Mm-hmm. Or do you do anything with, and you're probably above and beyond this now, but commingled inventory and things like that, you screw around with that? Because that just seems like a problem waiting to strike if I do that, you know what I mean? Because if they commingle my inventory with someone else, and someone else sends an item in that's frankly a piece of junk, or it's not up to par with their listing standards as far as their you know, new or like new kind of thing, it could end up kind of coming back to bite you if you choose to go with commingled inventory. Do you know anything about that, or do you screw around with that at all?
I don't. So I did commingled inventory when I first started, and quickly disabled that. For those of you who don't know what that is, commingled inventory means if I'm selling this pen, and then seller B is also selling this pen, you're both going to send it in, and they're not going to put a sticker over the UPC code. If I send this pen to California and the other seller sends it to Florida, but a buyer buys from my listing and they're also in Florida, Amazon is going to use the inventory from that other seller, their inventory, to fulfill your order. So essentially what that means is your buyer could be getting inventory that originally came from another seller. Sounds like it could work, right? Because it's the same product. The problem is if the other seller didn't grade the product properly, or is selling a counterfeit or whatever, that could come back to haunt you. Because if the buyer complains, it's your order, right? So
that's what I was afraid of.
Yeah, so we don't do commingled. We sticker everything. It's a tremendous cost. I mean, I spend a lot of money on that a year. But the positives and the possible problems, I should say, far outweigh the headache with that, I should say. So we don't commingle. And yes, Amazon does all of our labeling for us. Actually has up until now, but like I said, I've got a third-party provider who's somewhat close to my warehouse who is offering to sticker my stuff for half the cost. So I'm going to be taking them up on that most likely.
Yeah, I did one shipment that way. I mean, only be 100 items or 150 items, and it was funny because maybe 2/3 of them Amazon was willing to let me commingle. The rest I had to either put stickers on or pay them to do it. So after that, and then I started thinking about some of the potential problems. I completely wiped everything out and started the whole listing, just started the whole shipment over again, because it really seemed like it was a problem waiting to happen. So I guess, and I've never had Amazon sticker my stuff like you do. Is there anything that they won't put a sticker on for you, like the commingled won't, or will they pretty much sticker anything for you? Sticker bag and everything.
Let me put it to you.
Sticker and bag fees and stuff. So.
Let me put it to you this way. I mean, there's for everything we sell, they've been able to sticker everything. I think that there's probably certain categories or certain maybe liquids. Someone might have more information on this than I would. Certain things that require some difficult prep work. Bundles, I would say maybe. Like I know Amazon won't bundle for you. I'm pretty sure. You got to do it yourself. So there's certain things that there's certain limitations for what they'll do. But for the most part, I would say 95% they can do it for you. The one thing I would keep in mind though, is if you have 10 items, or for example, if you have 10 items you're sending in and you are commingling, there are certain products that require stickering regardless. And Amazon will tell you when you build a shipment. So even if you're commingling, certain times they'll require it anyway. And if you're not commingling and you're stickering everything, I'm sorry. If you aren't stickering everything, I should say, and you have 5 products that require labeling and 5 that don't, Amazon will not combine shipments together that require prep versus ones that don't require prep. So even if you have 10 items and they're all going to New Jersey, if 5 require prep and 5 don't, you're going to get 2 shipments, even though they're going to the same place, if that makes sense.
That was part of what got me thinking when I started doing it. I was like, screw this.
Yeah.
I didn't want to pay the extra shipping for 2 separate items in the same warehouse.
Right, exactly.
2 separate boxes.
Exactly. So you're going to have a separate box and a separate shipping charge and everything. So yeah, so you got to weigh that cost. They will not combine a non-prep with a prep shipment. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Let's see. I'm going to go back to Sam Sorber with a text question.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear
you. Hey, when did you decide it was necessary to declare sales tax in all FBA states?
Yeah, sales tax. So the short answer to this is you're going to get people who will tell you you don't have to, and you're going to get people who will tell you you have to. Legally, right now, as it stands today at 10:18 Central Time on March 29th, 16, you do not have to legally collect in every single state. At the advice of my CPA and at my personal theory, I think that law is going to change sooner than later. That's just my personal stance. People will tell me I'm crazy. That's fine. But because of the advice that I've gotten from my CPA, who I really trust, and because of I don't want to be stuck in that whole, oh my God, everyone has to do it right away, and the states have a backlog, and you can't get questions answered, and it's kind of a mess. Because I don't want to be part of that whole fiasco, I made the decision just to go ahead and get started on it now. So we collect from multiple states, and I actually, once you get the automation process down and figure out how to do it and do the filing, it's really not too difficult. It is time consuming, but yeah, but put it this way, there's certain states that give you a kickback for filing on time, so I actually make money off of that, believe it or not. So yeah, it's really just being proactive for me.
Cool, thank you.
Yep. Okay, what else? Let's see. JC Hernandez, did I answer all your questions?
Yeah, you asked before, but I did have some additional questions.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, you actually answered a couple of them with, I had some questions about ranking.
Yeah.
Product evaluation. I know that you said there's different things that you, different categories that you buy in. And one of the things is that you look for things that are already selling, have a decent track record, unless, the vendor offers you something special.
Yep.
Is there any other things that you look for? Do you have any, any certain guidelines that you use to determine, something that you you might want to sell or might sell well, besides just that it's been selling for a while and ranking?
Prep work could be one. For example, we've sold glassware, and that's difficult because Amazon prep does not do well with glass, put it that way. So prep work, overall storage capacity. If I'm buying a product and it's got a big footprint, and I want to buy a lot of them, if they're going to tell me, oh, it's going to be 4 truckloads, that's a lot of space. So got to avoid that. Overall sell-through in terms of how long it's going to take me to sell out all the inventory is something I consider. What else? Payment terms from a vendor, really that helps. If I've got, for example, I've got a vendor of mine who offers me net 90 terms. I bought something from them at a show in February, and I got a bill on my desk. It's not due until May. I've already sold it all. So I'm using their money and the profits probably 2 more times before I have to pay them. So it's like an interest-free loan. That's cool.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Okay. The other question is, you said you sell in multiple avenues, Amazon and some other sites. Mm-hmm. Do you have your own website is my question.
Coming soon. Yes, coming soon.
Okay. So that's definitely an option.
Yep.
And one other thing.
Vendors love that, by the way.
Oh, then yes, I would imagine so.
Yeah.
And the other question is, with this issue, which apparently seems to be something new over the last couple of months, where like last week, I sent in my first shipment last week, and there was one item on there that Amazon said they were full, they couldn't take it as an FBA. How would something like that affect somebody like you that's buying so deep? If you can send in some stuff, especially you that you've warehoused it for a while. Mm-hmm. That could somewhat put a damper. I mean, if you got different avenues, it's not terrible, but it could definitely put a damper on your business as somebody who's selling wholesale.
Well, let me put it to you this way: the ASIN restriction thing is not something that I've run into at all. Because my personal theory is because 2 things. One, because I think I have a good history with Amazon, to where I built up that track record to where I kind of have a little bit of an edge, I would say. And 2, the products that I am sourcing are high-ranking products, so they move quickly. So the chances of them having an ASIN restriction are pretty low. And to that point, I've not been restricted on any of my ASINs. So for me, that's not really been an issue. I will tell you that the restrictions, from what I've read, it seems like that program was temporarily being halted. I don't know if it already is, or if people are still getting those issues or not. They're doing some tweaks, from what I've heard from my inside Amazon connections that I have. So I don't really know specifically, but what I will tell you though is when that whole ASIN thing was going haywire and everybody was going nuts, I did do a test, and I found that there were ASINs that another seller that I know was not able to send that I was able to send. So it was definitely something related to the seller as well. So it wasn't just the ASIN.
They may have done something with that, because I heard from 2 other people online today that things they weren't able to send in last week, they put it in their system today, and they were able to go through. And I actually was able to do the same thing with the item I wasn't able to do last week. I went ahead and I got like 100 of those, and I was able to put 20 in the system with no problem. So they may have done some adjusting to that, or halted it temporarily.
Yeah, from what I hear, they were tweaking it a little bit and going to be re-releasing it. What you got to remember though is Amazon's seller platform is growing exponentially. Even though Amazon has a lot of warehouses and they continue to build warehouses, space is very valuable. So just keep it in mind as you're sourcing products that don't move quickly, you might run into these issues. And I can promise you, between this issue, them doing the long-term storage fees after 6 months now, and now making you remove inventory within 30 days instead of the 60 days or 90 days or whatever it was for unfillable, this is going to get worse before it gets better. They're going to find creative ways to get bad inventory out or prevent it from coming in. So be aware of that.
Okay, thanks.
Cool. Okay, I'm trying one more time for a Pam Hill. Pam, can you hear me? Pam Hill. No Pam Hill? Okay. Let's see. Bill Thompson. Can you hear me? Bill Thompson? Bill Thompson, if you can hear me, send your question again, please. Trying again for Jamie Nakashima. Jamie. Jamie? Okay, Jamie, send your question again if you would like to. Just going in order by time here. James Anthony, another question? James Anthony? Nope. Okay, if you have another question, James, send it again. Mark Giacomo, got another question?
Hey, it's me again. Yeah, so was there a particular item that made you change your viewpoint about, I guess, either retail arbitrage or online arbitrage, and that made you just kind of say, you know what, I'm going to jump into the wholesale, I guess, viewpoint? I mean, exactly what you're doing right now. Like, what was the thing that made you turn around and jump right into it?
Really, it was just the growth potential and the long-term sustainability. I'm looking to build this into a multi-billion dollar business. I'm talking 10, 20, 30, $50 million business.
So it was a big picture type of thing. Like you kind of just looked at the.
I'm always looking for big picture. Absolutely.
Good.
So,
okay.
So you know, with RA, you know, maybe they're out there, but I have yet to meet any seller who is doing completely 100% RA who is over $5 million a year. I've never met him.
Right.
So I mean, I could be. If I'm wrong, then more power to them. But I've never met them. I've met a lot more of the bigger guys who are doing wholesale or private label or something like that. So that's kind of why I did it.
Right on. All right, man. Yeah, I just wanted to know if there was like maybe one particular thing that maybe you stumbled upon and you're like, you know what, this is the defining moment or something.
It was that combined with being able to source products on a regular basis. I mean, RA is just you're limited to what's on the store shelf.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right, man. Thanks a lot.
All right. Let's see. Steve Siegel, did you have a question?
Yes. I just want to know what your opinion was on long term for where you see Amazon going and where you see your own business going, and maybe even you personally.
Ooh, long term, where I see Amazon going, where I see my business going, and personally. Well, if you were with me when I met with a potential business partner in terms of funding equity type stake, I was asked the same question: what's your end game? And I answered that wrong, and it was the last time I'll ever answer that question wrong. When you're asked what your end game is for any business, the correct answer is to sell. Just a note there. You can go on and on about, oh, how you're so good at what you're doing and you're an expert, blah, blah, blah. They don't care. They're looking for you to sell, and they're looking for what's in it for them. So for me, I mean, that's part of it. But you know, I'm looking to really grow this into a size to where I can say, hey, I did that. You know, I owned a 25, 30, $50 million business, and I was able to, you know, help others grow that way as well, and I built all these relationships, and I have good connections in this market, in this space, whatever the case may be. I'm looking for that. That, you know, being able to do that and being able to network is what makes me do what I do. I can't stress to you enough that networking is the part that's important in this wholesale business. The more you know, it's not what you know, it's who you know. The more people you know, the better off you're going to be. And I continue that point by saying, don't ever go to a vendor and lie about what you're doing, because that gives, number one, it gives all of us a bad name. Number two, I can't tell you how many of these vendors, they talk to each other. Person A at trade show B is going to talk to person C. The vendors, they talk. They say, oh, do you know X person from X company? They're selling on Amazon. Have they come to your booth? And the minute you start lying, you're going to get caught up, because one person's going to tell one story and one person can tell another story. So then it makes you look bad. And before you even know it or had a chance to correct it, you've got a bad name. So you're much better off if someone tells you they just don't do business with you, walk away. There's a plenty more people to do business with. Don't even try to work your way around something that you shouldn't be around.
So where do you see the future of Amazon going as a company?
Personally, from a sales perspective, you're talking about?
Yeah.
I think it's going to get, it's going to continue to grow and grow and grow. And if I was Amazon, I would be loving it, because, you know, essentially they're getting products available for sale that they're not even paying for until they are sold. And for that matter, they're making money on the prep and the storage and all that stuff. So it's a cash cow business. And if you know anything about Amazon, they don't make money on their products. They make money on the services. Your seller fees, prep work, hosting that they do, the advertising they offer, all the Prime memberships, that's what they make their money on. You know, there's products that I sell to Amazon, for example, that they sell for less than what I sell to them. I don't care. You know, that's their deal, but I don't question it. I don't really care to know the specifics, but I think Amazon's going to continue to grow. I think it's going to get they're going to, from a logistics perspective and from a buying perspective, they're going to get more and more and more popular in terms of getting stuff to you before you even know you need it. And the whole drone thing, I think it's going to happen. Some people think I'm crazy and they're crazy, but I think it's going to happen. I tell you, the joke that I make is there will come a time when the next generation will say, you guys used to wait for UPS? And I'll be, yeah, we used to wait a day. God forbid you waited a day for a shipment. Yeah. That's my joke. But yeah, I'm excited to see what happens, but because they're evolving. I mean, even from when I started on the platform in 2012, oh my God, it's so different. And that's only 4 years.
That's interesting. Thank you.
Yep. Okay. Got a few more questions. Let's see. Going back to Eddie Jack. Eddie Jack? Eddie? Okay, Eddie, if you think of your question, send me a new request, please. Let's see. David Zellner, can you hear me? David Zellner. David Zellner? No, sorry, David Zeller. Okay, David, if you can hear me, then send me your question again, please. Bill Thompson. Bill Thompson? Send me your question again, please. Joseph Bryan.
Hello, Eddie.
Yes, hello.
Hear me? Hi. I don't know whether you mentioned this or answered this before because I got to the seminar late. Do you sell PL products or mainly wholesale products that are name brand products that you buy wholesale?
Good question. I do not do private label. I'm looking into that this year, but I do not right now. Any questions related to PL, I'm going to be a terrible person to ask because I have no idea.
Okay.
So
My basic question was
branded, yeah.
about the products that you do sell. You sell name brand products that you buy wholesale at good pricing. But do you always get the buy box, or are you part of the people that have to piggyback also?
I'm usually always piggybacking.
Oh, okay. You think it's not a problem then to piggyback on somebody to get sales? I've noticed that even if you're not the lowest price, sometimes you get sales. Because I've been not the highest price, but I've been higher and still got a sale.
Yeah, the buy box algorithm, specifically what it is, no one really knows. It's like the recipe for Coca-Cola. It's like in a vault. No one really knows, but pricing is only one part of it. It's a big part of it, but it's not the only thing. So, you know, your feedback rating, where your stock is, a lot of times has a part in it. For example, if I'm talking to one of you and you're in California and I'm here sitting in Chicago, if we both look at the same product on Amazon, we both might get different people in the buy box, even though it's rotating because, you know, for example, from Chicago, Amazon knows where I am or where I'm shipping to. So they're not going to show me, they're going to probably not show me a seller who is the same price in California as a seller who has stock in Illinois. Because they're a logistics company, they want to be quick. So, you know, it changes a little bit.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Cool. Sorry, I just muted you again. Sorry, hold on. Joseph, Brian, come back.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The thing that I was getting at is the oh boy, now I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry.
Yeah, send me a question if you have it.
Okay, let me think about it again.
Okay.
Thank you very much for answering, though.
Okay, no worries. Going back to Sam Sorber.
Hey, just quick, with the amount of inventory you have, do you use a repricer?
Currently, no, I do not. Surprisingly enough. That's changing now. We're going to be looking into that because I've talked to several of them, and I think that over and above just having a repricer to do that for you, a lot of repricers have a value add in terms of being able to try to raise your pricing actually. So there's some big benefits to that. So, you know, different repricers have pluses and minuses, and different ones are going to be better fit for each business depending on what it is. But we're looking into that, and we'll be adding that into the mix soon.
Is there one that stands out to you the most or no?
FeedVisor.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yep. Let's see. Oh, I think James Anthony came back, possibly. Are you there, James? James Anthony.
Oh, there you go. Can you hear me?
Oh, James, I can hear you a little bit. Go ahead.
Yes, this is James' wife. I just realized, like, our question was for private labeling, but I heard you saying that that's not your area of specialties, but yes.
It is not. I'm sorry. I don't do much in private label, so I don't have much answer to that on that question.
Yes, but we have another question, and hopefully you may be able to help us with this one. It's about the bookkeeping. We just barely started, and for the bookkeeping, for tax purposes, we don't even make that much sale, but we just want to be on the safe side in terms of tax. So when do you recommend to start having the bookkeeping? Because right now, to be honest, we're just still in the 100 sale per week.
Bookkeeping, when should you start? That is the question. In my mind, if you're in business, no matter what you're doing, you should have good books, because that's trying to go back on that or trying to piece together parts of your business is very difficult later. So I would say start that immediately. Personally, we use QuickBooks Online. That's a pretty robust system, and we also lean heavily on our CPA to give us advice and guidance. Personally, I recommend reaching out to two people when you start your business. One, a good CPA who can kind of guide you and give you maybe a template that they prefer, and two, an attorney for business.
Okay. Great, thank you. Thank you. You answered the question.
Yep, no worries. Okay. Let's see. Tressa Paul. Tressa?
Yes.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Go
All
ahead.
right. Wonderful. I kind of dozed off there on the East Coast, so I heard my name. Yeah, I just joined the group, and I just sent off my first shipment this past Saturday, so I'm pretty excited about it. But I've noticed since I've kind of got into this retail arbitrage that there's a lot of courses out there, and so I wanted to know, would you recommend, you know, purchasing one of those courses that kind of coaches you along the process of building your business with Amazon?
No, I don't. I think that what you need to learn in this business, the process, can be learned through a variety of these groups by asking questions, by getting feedback from sellers. I don't think you need to pay for a mastermind class or a group or a course. I just don't believe in it. That being said, you know, I don't offer any course like that specifically. The only thing I'm now starting is one-on-one. You ask me questions, I'll give you answers to your questions if you want to do that for whatever amount of hours you want to arrange. That's something I'm starting. But courses in terms of teaching stuff, I don't do that. There's a lot of people that do, but I personally don't think that that's necessary. I think that you want something, if you're going to pay for something, it's going to be, you want someone that's going to tailor it to you, who's going to help you with your questions, and really get you off the ground.
Okay, thank you.
Cool. All right. Let's see. I have a question from Christy Crenshaw.
Yes. I think we already talked. Oh, do I have a new question?
Okay, cool.
No, I'm sorry.
That's fine. Just making sure I got it to you. No problem. Okay. Let's see. Eddie Jack, do you have another question? Eddie Jack? Nope. Okay. Send me a new request if you have it. Looks like we got a few more. Let's see. I'm going to go to Bill Thompson. Bill. Bill Thompson? Nope. Bill, if you have the question, send it to me again. Bill's telling me still no mic. Bill, send me the question in text and I'll read it to everybody aloud and answer it via the message thing. Same goes for Eddie Jack. So here we go. Eddie Jack just sent me the question. Eddie Jack's question is, in regards to sales tax, did you see a change in sales volume because your listing shows X in the tax field and seller B does not? Good question. No, I did not. In my personal opinion, I think buyers are becoming more and more apt to paying sales tax. I potentially may have lost a few people in terms of, oh, they don't want to pay sales tax, but I've definitely not seen a decrease much at all. And I would argue to say that since Amazon is building so many new warehouses in all these different states, they themselves now have to collect sales tax. So buyers are becoming more and more used to the fact that that's becoming a reality. So no, I have not seen a huge or much of anything in terms of a decrease by charging sales tax. No. But good question. Thank you. Oh, one more question from Eddie. Hold on. When you changed your business model to strictly wholesale, did you start slow and just ease into it? Meaning, did you buy 50 of an item instead of 5,000 until you got going? How did it happen? Yeah, I mean, there's no question that when I started my wholesale business, I wasn't buying in the massive quantities that I was doing now. I did build up to it, but you know, I got comfortable as I got more comfortable from a product perspective, from a category perspective, from a vendor perspective. You know, you've got to trust your vendors too. For example, I meet new vendors all the time that seem like they have great product, but the old theory still stays true. If it sounds too good to be true, it normally is. So you know, a lot of vendors who I get excited about, sometimes I just, you know, I won't jump right into it because I have my best interest in the back of my head. So, you know, what I would tell you is when something seems great, that's great to have that feeling, but just make sure you keep your business hat on and you don't do something that's gonna, you know, don't risk more than you can afford to risk is what I would say. There's a theory in this business says you never risk more than you can afford to lose. So put it that way. Let's see. Joseph Bryan, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Eddie.
Go ahead.
I remembered my question. It's when you look at a product, what is your cutoff for the rank where you won't go above? And also, is there a cutoff for how many sellers might be offering the product? Like maybe not more than 5 or not more than 10?
I look at the number of sellers just out of curiosity, but no, I don't really have a number because at the end of the day, I'm figuring out, you know, what the price is and how much room I have to play with. So I wouldn't say that if a product has 10 sellers, I'm necessarily just, you know, taking it out of the equation. I'm still considering it. But the rank question, that really depends on the category. Again, because I buy such a volume, my rank requirements are a lot more stringent than what you probably are used to. Do you have a category in mind that I could answer for you?
Well, I guess it's the basic one, like I guess home and kitchen, dining and kitchen. You know, that's the biggest one that I guess most people are in.
10K. I don't go above 10K. I don't like to.
Yeah. Okay. And are you ever afraid that when you do such, people see your sales, your wholesalers, that they might say, why should I sell it to him? Why don't I just go and sell it on Amazon? Do you?
No, not really. Because we're multi-channel, right? So I have a lot of outlets for product besides FBA. And that continues to grow. So a lot of times that's, you know, I can position it that way and say, you know, I've got a lot of avenues for you that you don't have.
Okay.
And keep in mind on the rank question, you know, I can't stress you enough how it really depends on your model. For my model, because I buy in quantity, I have to be conservative on ranks. When you take an RA person, for example, who's buying 1 or 2 of an item, well then sure, if you buy a 200K rank toy, all you gotta do is sell 1 or 2 and you're golden. I gotta sell like 1,000 of them, if not more. So I can't, you know.
Yeah, no, my question was more in line with having 1,000 of a product and, you know, trying to sell them all, not just, not RA,
yeah.
I guess wholesale.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Thanks, Eddie.
Uh-huh. Okay, I have one more question in the queue. I'm going to try to unmute you, and if I can't get that to work, I'll read your question out loud. But Bill Thompson, can you hear me? No. Okay, so Bill Thompson's question is, do you have any good ways to getting a wholesaler to offer you exclusive products if you don't have a lot of capital? So being able to buy in volume is only one benefit. Having a value add something is better than nothing, I would say. You know, can you help them with map pricing? Can you help them with listing optimization? Can you help them with going on to new platforms. All those things are value adds. So figure out what is a value add of yours, or what can you make a value add, and position it to people. You'll quickly figure out if it's something that people are latching onto or not, and if they're not, then change it up. Even in my business now that's going on its 4th year, I still change things all the time. The market changes, the needs change, demand changes. Got to adapt. I got to adapt every day. So the queue is now caught up. Do I have any other questions, or anybody else want to make a point, have something they're wondering, anything? Okay. I just want to close with this. We have, hold on, we have one question. What other platforms do I sell on? The big ones. I'll put it that way. I don't like to go specific because of competition, but I sell on a lot of them. The ones you know I probably sell on. Put it that way. Sorry. James Griffin has a question. Let me try to unmute you. Hang on. James Griffin, go ahead.
Thank you. First of all, I just want to say how much I really appreciate the time you've taken to do this.
Yep.
A couple of good solid hours of some great information. So definitely hats off to you, especially at the level you're at.
Thank you.
You know, looking out for us little people. I know this was kind of mentioned before, but if you were to start over again on the RA side or the OA side, obviously you mentioned you start off as a wholesaler knowing what you know, but what would you recommend? I mean, if I can ask that, the first thing you do if you were starting over as an Amazon or FBA seller or eBay or what have you, what would be the first thing you do, the first few steps you would take just to get your business to launch as quick as possible, to start building capital as quick as possible? Do you take out a loan? I mean, what would you, I mean, does that make sense, what I'm trying to ask you? I mean, what would be the first few steps you take to get your business off the ground as quick as possible?
Well, I heard 2 questions. I heard one about getting the business off the ground, and then I heard one about funding. So I'll answer both of them.
Right.
About funding, credit cards are great because they're, you know, pretty much anyone will give you a credit card if you have good credit. But in terms of loans, that's going to come in terms of experience. To name some, like Cabbage, for example, is a lender that will give you loans based on your Amazon sales. So it's a little bit non-traditional. You might want to look into that if you're looking for funding.
Cabbage, like the vegetable?
Yeah, Kabbage. Their interest is a little bit high, I'll be honest with you. And their interest is charged like a mortgage. You know, you pay the most interest in the first few months.
What if you had a couple grand in capital, just of your own money that you could spend on it, you know, just to start off with? I mean, what would you suggest doing right away?
I would invest. So this is what I was going to answer your other question with. I would invest it in your business. Really, you want to even if you're small, you want to give the big impression. So if you're in this business and you're operating from a Gmail email address, get rid of it. A domain costs $10. Get one. It's just you paint a bad picture when you're emailing a big manufacturer or a big vendor and you're Joe Schmo's resale shop at gmail.com. You're just painting a bad picture. I mean, people will argue this point with me and they'll tell me you're wrong, and I do business that way, and you're right. But having been through the amount of shows that I've been to and the amount of vendors I've talked to, I can tell you about dozens that tell me that they look at that. And to go along with that point, they will look you up online. They will look to see if you have a website set up. Do you have one? If not, work on one. Things like that. You know, invest in yourself before you try to invest in helping others. Because if you cannot show that you have some kind of backing, it's going to be difficult for you to say that you are such a value add when you don't have anything in your back corner.
Awesome.
Cool.
Thank you so much.
All right. Let's see. Eddie Jack says, would you tell us how many other platforms do you use? Right now, about a dozen that I can count. And And do you do multi-channel or do you ship direct? I do multi-channel fulfillment if I have to. I do not ship anything direct to consumer. We're not set up, and I don't have any employees. So shipping direct would be next to impossible for us. We're not set up for it. Let's see. Lauren has a question. Lauren Sismenki. Lauren, are you there?
Hi.
Hi.
I just wanted to know, like, what kind of services you use to get shipping supplies from? Like, I've heard of Uline or Value Mailers before.
Yep.
What do you use?
Uline. So Uline has a Waukegan, Illinois facility that's about 20 miles from me. So it's really convenient because they give me free shipping for over 300 orders. So for me, that's really convenient. Uline is not the cheapest in terms of supplies, but for us, the convenience factor, and I've used Uline in previous businesses since like 2004. So I have a very long history with them. They have pretty much everything though. So if you're looking for something that you're looking for a one-stop shop and someone who probably has everything you're looking for, that's them.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions? We are caught up again. All 46 of you who have stuck it out for 2 hours. You guys are the brave ones. Okay. I want to thank everyone for jumping on this call, and I think Chaz had to jump off a little bit early because he has some things to get done before he leaves town. But I want to thank him for the invite to join the group here and take your questions. Again, join my group if you'd like to interact with me specifically more on a regular basis. Amazon FBA with Eddie is the group name, or you can PM me for the link if you cannot find it. And again, if you want to work with me on a one-on-one basis on your questions, or you want to go into more detail, I'm happy to do it. I am starting up that program where we can do it by an hourly basis. If you're interested in that, send me a PM and we can figure that out as well. Other than that, I want to thank everyone for coming on again, and enjoy the rest of your evening. Thanks, guys.